everyone, Kyle Erickson here. These are the Gravastar Sirius P5 earbuds, and they're pretty wild when you first look at them. In this day and age, it's not very often that we see products that really stand out like this, and the P5s are quite a departure from what we're used to seeing in headphones or earbuds. Usually you'll see something minimal with a fairly conservative approach to the design. A more subtle, simple look is going to appeal to a much broader range of people. It's essentially the safe route to go if you're a big name brand or you just want something that looks approachable to the general population. The downside to that is we really don't see a lot of imagination or creativity put into product design that wanders off course from the norm. And that's why I was really excited to check out these Gravastar Sirius P5 earbuds. If you love sci-fi aesthetics or you want something that's a bit more of a head turner, then you'll definitely want to take a hard look at these. There's loads of cool things on here, especially on the case. This is the first case that I know of that has an interchangeable shell. The kit that I have here comes with 3 different outer shells, what Gravastar calls Defense Mecha, Defense Armor, and Crystal Blue. And they all just swap out by sliding the internal case inside of them and doing up the screw at the bottom. The Mecha and Crystal shells are made up of plastic while the Armor is metal. My personal favorite is the Armor case. I just like the feel and the weight of the metal, but I could see myself switching these frequently depending on if I was getting sick of one or if one matched my everyday carry a little more. Just a note on the outer shells. Those will also have a loop made for the included necklace, which I would compare to something like the lanyard loop on the new AirPods Pros 2s. That's kind of handy if you want to throw this around your neck or on a backpack or something and keep it out of your pocket. Also, the Mecha shell does have this little Lego pattern at the top, which interestingly enough you can snap Lego onto. Beyond that, you can also switch between 4 RGB colors on the case, and you open up the top of each shell to get at the headphones by pressing the button at the side opposite the hinge, which by the way is really solid. The earbuds sit nicely in the case with minimal movement. That's something that I always look for in a case. And the earbuds just slide out nicely out of the top. The headphones themselves, I would say, are a little bit less noteworthy design-wise. They still do have a sci-fi look to them, but it's not as prominent as on the case. You've got a black base with gunmetal or graphite end caps on each of the buds, and a status light at the top. That light also doubles as a touch control, which is pretty standard behavior. You can pause, play, and switch tracks, adjust your volume level, take and switch between calls, sound modes, and activate your voice assistant. The nice thing about having the touch control where it is versus the stem is you are less likely to pop out or move the buds while touching them, but you do have to be a little bit more aware that you don't inadvertently hit them when you're adjusting your buds if you're playing something. That being said, I don't find that I have to adjust these much, as these earpieces are more of an AirPod style design without the silicone ear tips. I just find that with certain models that do have ear tips, they can tend to want to push out over time, and I don't get that with the P5s. Honestly, I was a little surprised at how comfortable these are given the resemblance to AirPods. AirPods actually just fall out of my ears, so I've never been able to use them reliably, but the Sirius P5 seem to sit in a lot more snug and secure. They're also very light, weighing in at 5 grams, so they're a lot lighter than most earbuds out there. They're about the same weight as my AirPods Pros, and they also have the same IPX4 water resistance rating as the AirPods as well, meaning they'll be fine for things like sweat from working out and light splashing from rain and things like that, but they can't be fully submerged in water. When it comes to connectivity, the Sirius P5s have Bluetooth 5.2 that supports aptX, AAC, and SBC codecs, along with a multi-point connection, meaning you can have them paired with more than one device at a time. I found this to work pretty well outside use with my MacBook. The MacBooks are pretty notorious for having Bluetooth problems on their own when you have a bunch of Bluetooth devices connected, which I certainly do, so I really wouldn't blame that on the headphones at all there. Outside of that, I didn't have any issues, and having that multi-point connection makes it so much easier to do things like answer calls if you're listening to music on your computer. It's definitely something that I would look out for if you're shopping for a set of earbuds. If you end up with a set that is difficult to unpair and repair all the time, then not having this can be a real pain. Also, just a side note, one thing that is often underrated in Bluetooth devices that I like about these is the voice that comes on when you either pair them up or you do certain touch controls. It's super clear here, And oftentimes that isn't the case, and you either get a weird voice or there's just no voice at all and it just spits out audible tones. So that's a really nice touch. One of the most important things regarding the connection is the range, and the P5s are decent for a set of earbuds. About the same, maybe even a little bit better than the AirPods, depending on the device that you're paired with. And when you go in and out of range, and just in general, there aren't any sync issues at all. I haven't had any problems with dropped connections, and the latency on these is fantastic. I actually don't find there to be any noticeable latency just in the regular music mode if I'm watching something on my phone, but this can really depend on the device that you're paired with. If you do find any at all, you can switch on gaming mode, which will reduce the latency if you are gaming or watching content. If you have gaming mode on, your music doesn't sound quite as good, so that wouldn't be something that I would leave on by any means. Just speaking to audio in general, these do have good quality for this style of earbud. The advantage to having a closed-in silicone tip is that it does seal in the sound a little more. But with these having 12mm drivers and fitting a little nicer in my ear than regular AirPods, they do compensate for the difference there. The P5s are warm sounding with punchy bass, nothing overpowering or muddy by any means, and everything is very clear both at mid to high volume levels. They do get reasonably loud, and the mids and highs are well balanced, with the mids maybe being a hair more forward, but overall good sound quality. They're not on the same level as a set of premium buds, but when you start getting into those, you're really looking at more than double the price in a lot of instances. The same goes for when you're on calls. Everything has been really solid there as well. You can hear everyone clearly, and the mic comes through fine on the other end. I'll play a few clips now just so you can get an idea of what to expect from the mic quality. This is what the Gravastar Sirius P5 earbuds sound like with no background noise. As you can tell, overall, it's pretty clear. I am going to turn on some background noise right now, though, because there is a feature called environmental noise canceling that I do want to test out. All right, I've got crowd noise turned on fairly loud right now in the background, and you should be able to get an idea of how good environmental noise canceling works with that crowd noise turned on and how well my voice comes through. So as you can see, overall things are pretty clear, totally acceptable for things like taking calls. I find environmental noise canceling works excellent in most circumstances, and if you're on calls all day, the nice thing here is that you can use the P5s for a full workday without having to charge them. At moderate volume levels, the Sirius P5s will last 8 hours on a single charge and 40 including the case, which is above average for most earbuds. They charge through a USB-C port at the bottom of the case. There's no wireless charging on these, which I think makes sense given the interchangeable case shells. And because there is a little bit longer battery life than your average set of Bluetooth earbuds, I'm not as concerned with the lack of wireless charging. These will take about an hour and a half to fully charge the earbuds from 0 to 100, and I think it's about 2 hours to fully charge the case. There isn't any fast charging support there, so there is some give and take with the battery life and charging, but all in all, I think these are a decent little set of earbuds. If you do like an AirPod style earpiece without a silicone tip, or you just want something with a really cool, unique design that's also kind of a conversation piece to some extent, you might want to check these out. They've got decent sound, strong battery life, and have all those interchangeable cases and lighting options that are kind of fun to play around with. I really appreciate that companies like Gravastar exist and are stepping outside of the bounds of traditional products and offering up something that's a little bit different for people who do like this aesthetic. If I could change anything about these, I think I'd probably remove that screw-in shell if possible and just have this case clip in. I think that anytime that you have little pieces like these, they're bound to get lost, at least if you're me. And I also think that I would change the printed pattern on the stems. If they would have removed the white line on these and just put the diagonal pattern that appears on all the cases, I personally would have liked that a little more, but that's just my opinion, and I think that those complaints are pretty minor. I'll leave links to these in the description below. I think by the time that this video gets released, you might have a day or two to snag these at the $90 pre-sale price, but otherwise they'll be around $140 with the 3-case combo pack. You can buy them with only one shell if you want. That'll be a little bit cheaper, but the price is so similar, I'd probably just pick up the combo pack myself. I would love to know what everyone else thinks of these, especially on the design. So please drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button if you want to see more tech related content, or if you want to throw random objects off a bridge with me into a river and see what floats and what doesn't, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.